do like your guys' setup a lot.
Oh, yeah, this used to be just cubicles and stuff in here. Like, Randy did all of this, and he set it up nicely. Took him about 6 months or whatever, and we turned it from like an office space to a legit podcasting studio. Yeah.
I like the setup a lot.
What is up? Welcome to our March edition of the Game TV crossover, where we bring in our friends from the television side to break down the latest in Gamecock athletics and the sports world at large. I'm Elijah Campbell from the early game here on 107.5 The Game, which you can hear every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. And joining me today is our pal from WACH Fox, Jared Parker, the one, the only. This is technically a Conference USA graduate takeover.
Yes.
Of the Game TV crossover, MTSU, Florida International, and even in the world of conference realignment, Conference of Champions still strong. Still, to this day.
You know, that intro, that's very smooth. I gotta take a page out your book. I can tell you're a radio guy because your intro is just so smooth. I don't think I have it down yet like that on TV.
Just winging it.
Yeah. I gotta learn how to wing it like that.
It is a learned skill. It is an art to just be able to wing it like
Gotta
that
give
sometimes.
the man his props.
Yeah, you wing it long enough, eventually the wings flap enough where you can fly, right? Like that is how all great birds learn how to be able to get off the ground and stay in the air for long enough. And it's not a lot of winging it for South Carolina, right? Because this women's basketball team is in the Sweet 16 once again. You know, we stayed up late last night at Colonial Life Arena watching South Carolina's 101-61 win over Southern Cal. Another dominant performance and another Sweet 16 trip for Dawn Staley and this team. This is her 13th trip to the Sweet 16. She's done pretty well in those games too. Counted it up the other day, 8-4 in those games, and as a 1 seed, 7-2. Right? When she's expected to get there, she gets there, and she normally wins. And this team right now is playing at a high level, and it looks like they've bounced back pretty well from that disappointing loss in Greenville in that SEC tournament title game to Texas.
Yeah, that Texas game was the biggest concern, really, because even leading up to that Texas game, they were playing so well going into that. And if you really think about that game, it's a 15-point start by Texas, a 15-0 run that really separates the game, because if not for that run, it's a close game. So you can really say South Carolina's SEC championship hopes were really ruined by a few minutes of just the worst run that anyone could go on their whole season. But yeah, I mean, the way they looked against Southern Cal, they're different teams than they were in November when they played that first time.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's obvious with a 40-point win. But Southern Cal still is a solid team, and to look like that, especially with this collision course they're on with UConn after UConn killed Syracuse, it's like, okay, these teams, they're both killing everyone in their way. And I think South Carolina will have a comfortable trip ahead of them in Sacramento.
Yeah, I certainly think so too, especially with the way they play defense. And like watching the first round game against Southern, which you always take with a grain of salt because you expect that. I mean, the point spread for that was 53.5 points. Like, you were expected to win that game, by 100 at the bare minimum, and they surpassed that pretty easily.
Yeah.
But even you look at the game last night against Southern Cal, talented bunch, had double-digit losses, but, I mean, clearly they're playing without their best player the entire season. It was a much closer game when you played them in Los Angeles in November. But the big thing for me, Jared, was watching this game and seeing South Carolina force 27 turnovers. We got to a point in that third quarter where I'm looking at, stat broadcast, I'm looking up at the clock, and I'm really trying to calculate in my mind, is there a chance that we get them to force 30 turnovers in this game? I think that was a legitimate concern, but I don't think Southern Cal could try to get any type of dribble penetration in this game without somebody stealing the ball or help defense coming in stealing the ball. And I think really the live ball turnovers that they were able to create in that game made it to where you didn't have to play your A game in the half court.
Yeah, and it was something that was mentioned because we know the seatbelt gang with Raven. We got the notice that Raven would be doing seatbelt things with Jazzy Davidson, but I mean, you talk about the live ball turnovers for the first several minutes of the game. Ravens off-ball defense on Jazzy was so good. They're running plays for Jazzy, and Jazzy is not touching the ball. Like, and it makes it even worse because the whole crowd I say the CLA has a pretty intelligent basketball crowd.
Very much so.
They know when things are going on, and they know how to cue into that. So they all see the Trojans running plays for Jazzy. They see Raven deny, and they see the panic basketball start to take place, and that just motivates them even more. It makes them louder, and it rattled Southern Cal. And, yeah, the defense is definitely where everything started. That 13-0 run, every part of it started on defense. The offense was great, ran smooth, but every part of last night, I mean, it started on defense. Ravens 1K started on defense. The little Tanaya steal.
How fitting is that, though, to get her 1,000th point on a steal and a run out and a layup, right? Defense,
that is
causing
Raven.
the offense.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything. It was just suffocating defense, which gives me confidence in this team when you look at them going forward. That, an Aaliyah Chavez fourth quarter overtime explosion will not reoccur.
Right. I mean, a 30% three-point shooter an Aaliyah Chavez, who is not afraid to chuck up shots. I mean, she shot, 216 threes, I think, on the season. Got red hot in that last quarter and overtime of the game in Norman. I think that makes things a little different. I don't think that gets replicated.
No.
That's
hard to replicate at all. Like,
for any
she
player.
was nuclear that night.
She was nuclear, and then there's the combination of that was a game where South Carolina uncharacteristically missed a lot of shots at the basket, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
layup after layup.
18 of 40, I think, in layups in that game. And throughout the course of the season, they're constantly getting 30 to 35 shots at the basket per game, which is already an advantage when you're getting that many looks at the rim.
23 for 33 last night. So.
Yeah, 23 for 33 last night. Like, you go back and look at every single box score, look at the amount of shots they get at the rim. It's amazing how consistently they're able to do it. That game against Oklahoma and Norman, which, of course, they're playing Oklahoma in the Sweet 16 in Sacramento this weekend, was an interesting just concoction of one team playing out of their mind, one player playing out of their mind, and you having an uncharacteristically bad day when it comes to scoring and converting chances at the basket. Because for the season, South Carolina is around that 70% mark when it comes to getting the ball at the hoop. I just don't foresee a scenario in which the conditions in Norman get replicated on a neutral site months after that game occurred.
Yeah, and even with what happened in Norman, I think it's still very, a once in a, I'm not going to say lifetime because stuff like that happens every year, but it's a once in a maybe once in a season type occurrence where a team gets hot like that. I think even if you go replicate those scenarios, like the fact that Aaliyah Chavez was shooting from anywhere and making anything, like that doesn't happen every game. So I think even if they do struggle at the rim like they did last time, which I don't think they will, I still think it should be a decent, comfortable win for them. But, I mean, it's a different team from the one that played then. I think a huge part of that is Medina Okot. Obviously,
for sure,
she's hit some obstacles, and she's now overcome them, and she's playing out of her mind. She had 15 and 15 last night. And, like, one thing that I feel like is not appreciated about Medina is obviously she has size, but I think this season we've really started to see the work where her footwork down low. Like when Medina wants to get slick, she can get slick. And I love when they allow her to go and get slick because she has those tools that she'll pull off some moves and it's like, okay, it's not just a big that's just getting tip-ins. Like she can make a post move when she needs to, which I think will be big when you have someone like Reagan Beers going head-to-head with you.
Yeah, and defensively, she's always had that presence. Yeah. Quite frankly, I think it's one of the reasons why she was brought to South Carolina is because you get a big body who can protect the rim, and when you do play against centers like Reagan Beers, you have kind of a counter to what they do. And with Medina, her ability to finish around the basket has gotten better. She stretched the floor a little bit. Now you have to guard her out from three-point range. If it's a catch and shoot, she's a threat to knock that down. And for the first, 2.5 months of the season, she wasn't. And now she's gotten to the point where you have to respect it a little bit, and that's going to change the spacing of the floor. That can draw Reagan Beers away from the basket. It opens up cutting lanes. It does a whole lot of different things. Offensively, I think they're just going to be a lot better. Defensively, they are what they are, which is an elite unit that will take away whatever your best player is and whatever your best option is. I think maybe one of the biggest differences between the game on January 22nd to now is what Medina does offensively.
Yeah.
Joyce getting more comfortable and handling pressure. She
Yes.
saw her get double teamed a couple times last night. She dribbled into some crowded paints, but still was able to go 8 for 12 from the field and be able to score. Those two things weren't happening in Norman, and I think that completely changes, how South Carolina plays in this game this weekend.
Right, and I will say, I would still love to see Joyce kick out the ball a little bit more. I think Joyce does have a tendency, especially after an offensive rebound, which I'm kind of okay with. But if Joyce grabs that offensive rebound, she's going back up with
Sucker's going back up.
And,
yep.
And you know what? I'm okay with that, because if you grab an O board, that is your right to shoot it.
Right.
Like, you did the
sweat
work.
equity to get that shot.
Exactly. Like, you did the work. Like, go ahead, have the glory that follows it. So I'd love to see her pass out a little bit more, but I mean, like you said, she dribbled into crowded scenarios, and I think that's been a huge difference from her start of season, from her last year to this year, where she's dribbling into those crowded scenarios, and even if she doesn't score, she's getting to the line.
Right.
And she's been shooting better from the line, too, than she started the season. So it's something where I think really on this whole team, there is no player that you can leave unguarded on the perimeter. Joyce shoots the least, but you can't ignore Joyce either, because she's going to drive, and she's going to draw attention, and she's going to draw fouls. I mean, Jazzy Davidson got her third foul on Joyce in the first half. Not like Davidson was doing much at that time, but it's still a valuable ability to a team that's already cold. You took out their best player with foul trouble.
Oh, yeah, and that's a valuable skill, too. Look, winning the free throw battle is such a big part. There's a reason that, Dean Oliver, the godfather of basketball analytics, included free throw rate, not just making the free throws, free throw rate. How much do you get to the line as one of the 4 factors of winning basketball games. And one thing Joyce has done really well, and it's probably a benefit of what she can do when putting the ball on the floor and get 2 defenders, sometimes 3, on the ball, is that you can draw a lot of fouls that way. She got to the line 10 times last night. That's been one of her big superpowers this year, and South Carolina oftentimes wins that free throw battle. And if we want to use last night as an example, I think South Carolina had 17 free throws attempted before Southern Cal got to the line for the first time. And that alone speaks to, A, how good South Carolina is at just drawing fouls, but also getting to the basket where those fouls are committed. You got 40 shots or 35 shots at the basket. You got to the line, 27 times, and a lot of those fouls were committed inside the painted area. And I think that's, while it might not be the sexiest thing on TV to watch because you're not raining down a ton of threes, it looks different than maybe other teams, but you're dominating the painted area every single game. Yeah,
and then Miriam Dowda finishing through contact.
How about that?
That's huge. I mean, I'd say the last thing you need for this squad is for everyone to get their mojo going into Sacramento, and like Miriam Dowda turning up, getting to the line, finishing through contact. Like, that's huge, I think, for this team, because I think Dowda is someone who, when she was at Arkansas, we saw her have good games and be able to score, and we haven't seen it so much, but if there's one thing she can do that would help them, it's getting to the line. I think getting to the line is something that, you think of something like a Texas game, where you start down 15-0. If you're down 8-0 and you get to the line, like, it's something that, at best, even if you go 1 for 2, you're stopping momentum. And I think that adds so much value with her, especially if you finish through contact, where, okay, now you have a team where they're getting to the line, they're finishing through contact, and when the worst is happening, just, I don't know, get in there, get something up, see if you hear a whistle.
And well, that's the thing too. When it comes to erasing deficits, one of the best things you can do in basketball is be able to score with the clock being stopped.
Yeah.
Because you get down multiple possessions, the clock no longer becomes your friend, it is your foe. And if you're able to put up, points whenever the clock is stopped, that is going to help you just accumulate possessions.
Yes.
And over the course of time, like, it sounds simple, but that is a really good key to getting back into games.
Yeah, and that's what was the issue with Texas, because it just seemed like it always seemed like they were behind the clock. Like,
the entire
first
game.
quarter, second, it always seemed like whatever they needed to do, they never had enough time to do it.
And you're constantly looking at the clock and you're saying, if we can cut this thing down to like 9 with, going into the fourth quarter, we have a chance. Or if you get it down to 7 with 6 minutes left, you have a chance.
The bargaining.
Yeah, and you're doing so much clock bargaining throughout the entire game that you're trying to make it seem less insurmountable.
Yeah.
But one of the best tried and true ways of doing that is just getting the free throw line. And if Merriam's able to come in and give them those minutes, then you're going to see one of the deficiencies of this team, which of course you have to nitpick to find for any 30-plus win team that's a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. I understand that's the exercise we're doing here. But there have been some things, even in their run of successes this year, I see as maybe a potential roadblock, and that's if Medina gets in foul trouble.
Yes.
The LSU game being a perfect example. First half, she only plays 7 minutes, and you find yourself trailing at halftime, and LSU grabbed 8 offensive rebounds in that first half. Medina plays almost the entirety of the second half. LSU grabs only 2 offensive rebounds for the rest of the game, and Medina's a plus 15 on the stat sheet, and by virtue of her being that much of a positive on the floor, you end up winning the game rather comfortably at the end. But you'd like to be in a position where if Medina picks up a quick second foul in the first quarter, that Merriam can come in and give you minutes.
Right.
Alicia can come in and give you minutes, right? They can, limit the other team's rebounding on the offensive side of the ball, and they don't have to be able to be scorers, but can they protect the rim? Can they still be defensive stoppers? And can they keep the other team off the glass? I think that's what's going to make those two really important here against Oklahoma, and assuming you end up playing TCU, because I think TCU beats Virginia in the Elite Eight.
Which it would be an absolute miracle if Virginia won.
As
Not a
10
miracle
seed?
I wouldn't mind seeing, though.
No. And honestly, it's a story either way. You're either playing a team in TCU that is, to me, the biggest threat that you had in this region when the bracket was unveiled, or you're playing Virginia, which is the school that Dawn played for and took to Final Fours and really became a star in her own right, at that university. There would be a really interesting angle for that story. So this whole region was filled with potential great storylines. But the further we get along into this tournament, too, I think maybe the one thing that you can maybe poke a hole at offensively for South Carolina is if Medina gets in foul trouble, how do you continue to keep other teams off the offensive glass while also maintaining a free throw edge for yourself?
Yeah, and to that point, I find it hard to believe that they will play 6 games and win a national championship without her getting in foul trouble in at least one of to me, it's not a matter of if, but when. Which team is going to do it?
Which game is this going to happen?
Yes, because I mean, it's a valid strategy. You look at Ole Miss with Cody McMahon, taking your opponent's best player or players out of the game, and not to say Medina is necessarily South Carolina's best player, but I think she does. Raven doesn't get in foul trouble like that, so it's not really something I'm thinking about with Raven. But aside from Raven, I think what Medina does is more irreplicable for that team.
Yes, there's a value there that is hard for, even on Miriam, Dowda, and Alicia Tornabee's best days, or even when Adele Tack is healthy and playing. Even on their best days, they still can't replicate what you have with Medina.
Right, exactly. So when you look at that, it's like, okay, someone is going to see this and realize, okay, we have a big board advantage when Medina is out. And they're going to attack her. And, even with Alicia, she can be very handsy at times. I think it's something I noticed her first game. She's very handsy. I think Alicia could probably have 5 fouls every game if the refs really, really wanted to.
Oh, right. It's like that one summer that Greg Oden fouled out in a summer league game, and they give you 10 fouls in a summer league game. You have to try to foul out in those games, and he still found a way to do it. I think Alicia is one of those players, too, that she still is learning how to guard at this level.
Yeah.
And certain players.
American college ball, I guess.
Right. A little different. And, there's still just with any defender, guarding with, your feet and staying in front of somebody as opposed to getting beat initially when to reach a hand out there or in order to try to match physicality. Maybe you put 2 hands on a player. There's still probably a learning curve there with her, but that's one thing, too, that if Medina does get in foul trouble and you need to play her minutes, she's got to learn on the fly.
Right, and that's why I say I think that's where Miriam's experience is so valuable with this team, and it's going to be crucial that she can give those minutes that you mentioned when Medina, I think, eventually gets in foul trouble. Because I feel like it has to happen at some point. It's a tournament,
Yeah.
The possibilities get exhausted usually.
Yeah, and in all basketball, too. I mean, sometimes the strategy is attack the big and make them play defense without fouling. Yeah. And depending on the officiating crew that you have, some are going to be more willing to let things slide. Yes. Some are going to be a little more whistle happy. And if you've just run into a crew that happens to be whistle happy.
I think we've gotten whistle happy so far. through a couple games, it's felt whistle happy.
It got whistle happy last night.
Yes.
Especially late in the game when it was a 40-point game.
And same
it
thing
didn't have
against
to
Southern. Although, I will say, and sometimes you do understand, like, a foul is a foul.
Yes, you can't ignore it.
But, yeah, it seems like the end of these games have been getting whistle happy. So, I don't know. It's if that trend continues, then I'd expect to have to, address that.
Oh, yeah. And that's when it becomes a story, right, is when it gets to that point. Before we get out of here, too, I didn't want to go the entire program here without mentioning a player that Dawn, after the game last night, in kind of that media scrum, cited as the X factor of this team, and that's Agat McKeer. And I think we saw the best game that she has played in a South Carolina uniform in the 1 year she's been here as a true freshman. Last night, she's hooping. I mean, the scoring is one thing, right? If you get 15 points from Agat McKeer on over 50% shooting, you'll take it. If you get 3 assists from Agat McKeer, you'll take it. But the thing that I noticed that in 25 minutes of play, she got 4 steals. And that's not even accounting for the passes she deflected or the dribbles she deflected, but the offensive team recovers. She is so good both sides of the ball, and there was maybe an element of having to fight through injury while also adjusting to the physicality of the college game that I think maybe was a bit of a learning curve throughout the year. But if you get that level of production from Agat McKeer, that changes the way we think about South Carolina's depth once we do get into a Final Four where you are having to get through big, bad UConn to get to a national title game.
Yeah, I think Agat is so dangerous, and we see, and you know what? We see why Raven has now dubbed her the torch carrier of the seatbelt game.
Right. Good one to choose.
Yes, she's the next up. I mean, she's such a defensive problem in the fact that she is a guard and guards, but she's so lengthy, and can poke balls out. Like, I mean, we saw it last night. And the other thing I noticed, like, along with Raven, she's always the first to hit the deck for loose balls. Like, if there's a loose ball, you can guarantee yourself that Agat is diving for it. And it is funny to kind of watch that because she is more of a soft-spoken person, but when she's on defense, she's a dog.
She's a dog. Like, she's got that dog in her.
You cannot let the soft-spoken nature of her fool you because she will go after you. And then it's like you mentioned. I mean, we've known that she can shoot, that she's one of the best shooters that this team has. But like you said, when she's getting 15 points, getting to the line, she's done decent to get to the line the past few games.
Made all 3 of her attempts last night.
Yeah. So, like, when she's doing that and playing how she does on defense, it makes this team so much better because then when you put her in the game with someone like Raven and presumably next game you have, Verhulst and Chavez, it doesn't make it like, okay, where do we put Raven? Like, you have the options. Easy, yeah. You have the options to defend. So, yeah, absolutely X factor. And I think if they are to win a national championship, I expect some of those national championship winning performances to hinge on Agat McKeer. It won't always be 15 points and 4 steals. It might be 8 points and a steal, but that steal might be a clutch steal. So, I think, a lot of where they go kind of hinges on her.
I think so, too. And last thing before we get out, too, what is, to you, Jared Parker from WACH Fox, what is the one thing that can win this team the national championship? What is the one thing that can lose them a shot at even playing for the title?
Oh, at even play. Well, I guess if you talk about even playing for the title, I feel like this is kind of a cheat answer, but UConn.
That's a good answer, though, because they got a 31-0 run on Syracuse last night to put them up 53-8.
I mean,
I had a double take on that score, Jared. 53-8.
No, yeah, like I saw that because which game were we watching last night? I forget. Whatever game was going. It was the Kentucky-West Virginia game we were watching. And I see the ticker of the UConn game, and I'm like, no, that's a different sport. Like, I don't know what they're playing, but I'm like, I must have missed something. Like, maybe it's football. Like,
Are they playing Quidditch?
Like,
I don't know.
I'm like, but that is not basketball. And I look at over at the other TV, and I'm like, no. Like, I still didn't believe it. So, I mean, like, genuinely, like, when you see a team play like that, it just makes you think, like, what can you do to stop them? Like, I don't know.
Wasn't like Syracuse
Yeah.
had 15 losses on the year. That was a 24-8 Syracuse team, dog.
Right. So
That was a 24-8 team.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, and Don Staley and Lisa Boyer and crew obviously have much more basketball intelligence than me.
Yes.
So they will find something. But me, with my little knowledge, I have no idea how to stop whatever the hell UConn has going on.
That's why they get paid the big bucks,
Yeah.
brother. That is a task.
Yes, and I don't want that task because I don't know how to approach that. But yeah, I mean, as far as stop them, UConn. But in a serious note, I think what we saw in that Texas game, I think that was the most concerning we've seen that team. The Oklahoma game was concerning because of the lay-ins that they missed, but that is, to me, that's like a focus thing. And
Yes.
I don't think you're going to lose focus in the Sweet 16, in the Elite 8, and as this tournament goes on. I think the SEC championship, you're not going to say you weren't focused. Like, that's an SEC championship. So we know what's at stake. We know what you're playing for. I think just having such a slow start and never being able to get grounded is something that when you have a team that can go on a 31-0 run, that is something that will kill you, because if they can do 31 against Syracuse, they can absolutely do 15-0 against you, especially if Texas, which is not known as an offensive firepower juggernaut, can do it.
Right.
What can win them a national championship? I feel like there's so many different ways you can go with this. I do think that, I mean, like, as much, I think Agat Makir is an X factor, but I do think another aspect to that is Medina Okot. And I'll say Okot and Turnerbees together. I think what they present with their shooting threat is very unique to South Carolina. I don't think anyone in the nation has, well, period. I don't think anyone in the nation really has. There's very few teams that have a duo like that big as a whole, but then just the shooting threat that they offer. I think for that duo to really, really, really like set themselves apart, we'll need to see some more from Turnerbees defensively and on the glass.
sure.
But offensively, I mean, she has such a quick, she gets to the basket so quick. Like,
Yeah.
she has such a quick step for her size. So I think offensively what they offer, like those two, and more especially Medina, I think if she plays well and she continues to have 15 games, they'll continue to win even against a UConn. Raven Johnson is going to play good. Raven Johnson is going to lock up on defense. She's going to find open players. Joyce Edwards is having a good tournament. I think she will continue to do that, get to the line. Tanaya Latson can always score. Tessa is like also a wild card, I think.
Right,
Like,
and it's depending on just how many threes she gets in a game.
Yeah.
She's going to hit a high percentage, but how many is she going to be able to get off because defenses are just
right.
focused
Now, I
in
will
on
say,
her.
if Tessa catches fire, then they're winning. Like, if Tessa catches fire like she did against LSU, against any team, I think they've got it in the bag. They don't need Tessa to catch fire, but that makes it dangerous. But I think it more what you expect to happen hinges especially on their big play, because I think that's the one area that South Carolina is ahead of everywhere else. And if they can
Yes.
exploit that advantage, they can absolutely win a national championship.
Absolutely. I know Evan Miyakawa defines basketball kill shots as runs of 10-0 or greater. You had 3 of them last night.
Yes.
You're going to play teams that have been kill-shotting teams all season long, and I think one thing that could be an equalizer is that South Carolina does not give up many of those.
Yes,
right?
which is interesting because each of their last 3 games have started with a run up.
With a kill shot.
They gave up 15-0, started 14-0 against Southern, and then 13-0 last night. So we're getting some early kill shots. I would love for us to like wait for that a little more. Like give us something
From
to
an
start.
entertainment perspective,
From an entertainment perspective, like at least let's pretend like there's something at stake here for the start.
Oh, that's Jared Parker from WACH Fox. You can follow him on Twitter at Jared Parker TV. Of course, it's a Twitter handle, all one word. Jared, appreciate the time, my man. Conference USA Pride. Good to get to sit in here and chat with you for a little bit. We don't have a hand sign at MTSU.
Oh, you don't?
We
Pause
don't.
up,
I guess
man.
I can look at MT. I can probably come up with something on the spot, but it's going to look incredibly goofy.
Y'all gotta get something.
We're
Pause up.
swagless.
This is Aura, man.
That does go pretty hard.
Yeah, like it's a paw.
The paw does go pretty good. I got to call Murfreesboro. We got to come up with something because that's tough to compete with. Again, Jared Parker from WACH Fox. I'm Elijah Campbell from the early game. We'll talk to you again. You've been watching the Game TV Crossover.